In this video, we're going to be talking about the characteristics of codependency because, in my opinion, I think codependency is rampant. It's just to what degree. So there is a spectrum that we have to consider. But in this video, we're going to be addressing, a couple of things. Number one, characteristics of codependency. And also, I just want to touch briefly on some of the root causes of codependency. So if you grew up in an unpredictable home, an unsafe home, if you grew up in a home where, there were problems, but no one talked about the problems, right? So you don't trust yourself, like what's really going on. If there was alcoholism, if you are the child of a narcissist, if you were raised by abusive people, so unpredictable, chaotic homes where, you're not allowed to express your feelings. It's a very, very rigid environment. You get the idea that you're not enough unless you do what your parents want you to do. You're not allowed to express your true feelings. There's a lot of criticism, a lot of blaming, a lot of condemnation, a lot of negativity. If your home was chaotic, you may have had to learn how to be a caretaker. If your parents were very emotional, if you had to manage their emotions, then you've learned to become a caretaker to other people's feelings. You've also learned that the people that you love the most might not be there for you. So trusting people is a big issue. Feeling the ability to accept help from people, huge issue for people who suffer from codependency. There's a lack of intimacy because the people that you love hurt you, right? So you've got to keep people at a distance. There's an inability to trust yourself because you aren't encouraged to talk about your feelings. You don't trust people. You don't trust that you're worthy. You have low self-esteem. So let's get into the characteristics of what it means to suffer from codependency. A huge red flag for somebody who might have come from a home like that, if you tend to feel like you are the person who has to fix everybody else's feelings. You are what I call the mop and the broom of society. So you're at work and you see someone struggling, you feel like you have to go in there and rescue them. In relationships, you have to focus on your partner's problems and you have to come up with a solution to fix the problems. Another characteristic is that you absolutely believe that you know what is best for this person. It's like you are so obsessed with what is happening outside of you, right? And rather than focusing on yourself and your problems, you're the person, and I so relate to this, you are the person, the friend, the employee, the whoever, that can fix everybody else's problems and has a solution for everybody else but yourself. If you suffer from codependency, you lack boundaries. So you offer advice even if it's not offered to you. It's hard for you not to offer advice. You'd be in the grocery store and you hear people talking about a recipe and then you butt in. You haven't been asked to butt in, but you just butt in, right? So you're coming from this place, at least on the surface, it looks like you want to collaborate with people, you want to help people, but there's something else that's going on below the surface. Oftentimes when codependents offer help and they offer advice and they spend all this time, talking to someone on the phone, giving them all this advice, after they get off the phone or whatever, they feel better, right? Then they hear that their best friend is still with this guy or their brother is still with this girl, whatever, right? And codependents feel wounded because they offered all this help to this person that they loved only for it to be like cast away. So when you suffer from codependency, you're very much outer focus, other focus, trying to help other people, and you really are offended when people don't take your advice. Another characteristic, if you feel emotionally drained, like emotionally exasperated because you're not taking care of yourself and your other focus, this is a huge red flag of codependency. How could you not be exasperated? You are the person in society that is looking for people to help. It is not commonplace for you to pay attention to the self. And so, yes, you're going to get exasperated taking care of everybody else but yourself and attracting people who need to be fixed. Huge red flag of codependency is the need to be validated outside of the self. So when we suffer from codependency, we're not, our sense of self isn't coming from within. We've come from chaotic homes, right? So we don't have a sense of self. That's not our fault. It's the result of childhood dysfunction, what happened in our homes. And that need to feel seen doesn't go away. So we continue on seeking validation. As people drive past us, we want them to see us and notice us, right? Everything that we do, for the most part, is linked to, can you see me? Do you value me? See how good my vegetables look? Look how good my garden looks. Look how good my kids look. Look how clean my house is. So there's always this can you see me thing going on. Codependence, a characteristic of codependency, is being highly sensitive to criticism. So we suffer great low self-esteem, and we think we're trying so hard to help other people. And so when we feel rejected or abandoned, or maybe someone says like, get out of here, leave me alone, I can take care of myself, right? And someone refuses to allow us to fix them, we feel mortally wounded, like completely rejected. That triggers our abandonment and attachment trauma. We stay in unhealthy relationships long past the time we should have left. And we know we're in an unhealthy relationship, but we don't know how to get out of it, right? We're other focused, right? We've got this addiction to taking care of people. We're in denial. We have no self-esteem. We don't know how to set a boundary. Our borders are very weak. We don't know who we are. So in order to end something, I have to know where I begin. And so if you suffer from codependency, you're going to stay in a relationship long after you should have left. Deflection. This is another huge one. So rather than a codependent pay attention to their spouse as a drinking problem or lies or as a shopaholic or a gambler or whatever, or as having an affair, codependents will deflect the truth, right? So they don't have to deal with the emotions of this experience. So they will actually lie for their partners and lie to themselves. Oh, it's not that bad. She only does this once in a while. It's okay that she lies about this. It's okay that, he cheated on me once. He said he's never going to do it again. So we deflect because we don't know how to deal with our own emotions. Codependents avoid confrontation and really confronting their own feelings. Kind of like, leads into the last thing that I just said about deflection. But we have this true avoidance of being able to confront the issue that we really need to confront, whether is my husband makes fun of me when I'm out with my friends and I don't like it and I don't know how to tell him. Or, my sister just drops by whenever she wants and she just takes stuff out of my closet. She expects me to watch her kids whenever she wants to. We don't go to the heart of the issue. We don't know how to. Codependents can be manipulative. So because they don't know how to get their needs met and everything is kind of done to get a need met, in other words, taking care of somebody is so that I can feel seen. And, taking care of someone is so that I can find a sense of worth. And when we feel like we've been slighted, rather than because we just don't have the tools to do it, I grew up with my mom watching her do this. My dad had high narcissistic traits. My mom had high codependent traits. And rather than tell my dad that, he upset her, my mother would just shut down. She would stop talking, or she would take the credit card and she would go buy a new comforter for the bed. Or she would be very sarcastic to him. This is how she let him know that she was pissed off. But what she should have been able to do was accept how she feels, set a boundary, and then expect him to change his behavior. And if he didn't, well, then that's the next step. That's understanding the consequences of setting a boundary. Okay, so how it shows up, we lack a self-care routine. We will spend all our time making sure that our kids have what they need or our mother has what they need. We'll pamper other people, but we won't pamper the self. In our daily life, we take on way more than we should. So we're taking care of our house, and now our kids just bought a house, and now we're over in our kids' house pulling out their weeds. So there's this lack of boundaries in how we permeate into the lives of everyone else without our own perimeter. At work, we are taking on the work of other people. In the house, we're taking care of things that other people should be taking care of. We shouldn't be making the beds of adult children, right? We shouldn't have to do things for adults that they can do for themselves. But it doesn't matter. If you suffer from codependency in your daily life, you are exasperated because you take care of everyone else and you're not taking care of the self. In your daily life, you ruminate. Your mind is going 1,000 miles an hour. You're worrying about who needs what. You're worrying about how you can say something to someone to help their life, help them work their life out. You are worried about what other people think about you. You are trying to manage and control how other people see you. And so in your daily life, your mind is ruminating about, all of these different issues. And what we fail to realize as codependents is that we're not focused on the self and what we truly need at all. We value other people's feelings. So we know how other people feel, but we don't know how we feel. We know what other people like to eat, but we don't know what we like to eat. We have a difficult time making decisions when it comes back to I. So, we go out to dinner and we go out to dinner with 5 or 6 people. What would you like to eat? We're waiting to see what everyone else is going to eat. waiting to see if everyone's having water or they're having a glass of wine. If they have water, we'll have water. If they have a glass of wine, maybe we'll have a glass of wine. And so there's this constant inability for us to be anchored in the self because we don't have a self. Well, there is a self. We're just so obsessed with other things and other people, and our lives have become so unmanageable because we take on stuff from other people that now the self that we have is like lost in this abyss. Huge thing for you if you suffer from codependency is you can't identify a single emotion, right? So it's like you can't identify how you feel. And if you can't identify how you feel, you can't set a boundary. And you can't create dreams in your life if you can't identify how you feel. You can't tell people what you really need, and you can't satisfy your own needs if you don't know how you feel. You minimize yourself. If you suffer from codependency, you minimize your accomplishments. You never feel good enough. You could paint the house inside and outside and have the most beautiful garden in the world. You could be, really thin, and you could be, your face could be perfect and your kids could look perfect. You might have the perfect car and the perfect job, but you still feel worthless. There's nothing that you are doing allows you to feel good enough. You minimize your accomplishments. So, you have a wonderful job and you have healthy children and you have, maybe in your case, you have a relationship that is really, really functional, but it doesn't matter. You'll never give yourself credit. You'll never see the good in your life. And in the back of your head, in the pit of your stomach, you're always not good enough. So you will always devalue yourself. Very difficult for you to accept a compliment. And you will minimize yourself day in and day out, regardless of what you've achieved. You don't see yourself as lovable. Yeah, you take care of everybody. Yeah, you take care of the house. Yeah, you're a nurse. Yeah, you're a fireman. Yeah, you're a doctor. Yeah. You join the Peace Corps, right? You have all these wonderful empathic qualities, but you don't really see yourself as lovable. So it's sort of like, in the back of our head, it's like, I hope they see value in me. If I do this, they'll see value in me. If I do this, maybe I'm lovable. If I do this, maybe I'm worthy. You don't have empathy for the self. You have empathy for everybody else, but you don't have empathy for the self. You'll say to your neighbor across the street, you shouldn't do that for your kids. They're 35. Or, you know what? Your daughter-in-law talks to you like, you're nothing, and maybe you need to set a boundary. You'll have that empathy for your neighbor, but in the same situation, put you in the same situation, you'll have zero empathy for the self. You will be exasperated and exhausted and full of angst and guilt, worrying about what your daughter-in-law thinks about you because you said no. Or you'll be afraid to tell the grandchildren, no, you can't drink in my basement. You're 16 years old. You can't bring your friends to the window and drink in my basement. You're 15 years old or whatever. Anytime you need to set a boundary for the self and show up for the self, you're not going to be able to do it because you lack empathy for the self. Oh, huge. You can't ask for help. You don't feel worthy of asking for help. You've been programmed to worry about everybody else but yourself. So this idea that you are permitted to ask for help is completely foreign to you. You don't have the programming for it. You see yourself as the broom, as the mop, and the dustpan, and the garbage pail. You are the person who takes care of everything. Nobody takes care of you. You have a difficult time finishing projects. You can start something, but you have a difficult time finishing it, right? So there's procrastination involved. Well, you know what? When you're not used to being the center of your life, it's hard to finish a project for yourself. But if your next door neighbor needed to clean out a closet, you'd be there and you'd stay there till sundown, making sure that her closet was cleaned out. One of the saddest things that we deal with as codependents is that we fear intimacy, right? At our core, there's so much shame and there's so much guilt because we came from unpredictable homes where we were programmed to feel unloved, right? Because of the chaos in our home. Our parents weren't paying attention to us. They weren't nurturing us. There's tremendous emotional neglect. There's tremendous unpredictability. There's abuse by commission, which is a violation, an overt violation, perhaps, hitting, sexual abuse, that type of abuse. And then there's abuse by omission. It's really, really difficult as a codependent who's come from a home where we can't point to the actual abuse, right? So it's like, we feel like it must be us. My mother didn't love me, so that must mean that I'm unlovable. And these ideas get impressed before the age of 7 lots of the times, and it can take a lifetime to undo. And so one of the most difficult things that we struggle with is this inability to get close to people, right? I've coached so many men and women who have had mothers and fathers, and we all sort of say the same thing, where there's always been a pane of glass, right? So if you're a codependent, like you're very loving and you're trying really, really hard, but you might have a pane of glass between you and your own inner child, or you and your own self. You just can't break through this pane of glass that prevents you from merging with your authentic self. And it's difficult because when it's difficult for us to consciously break through that pane of glass, right, which are all our patterns and our programs, and breaking through that can be very difficult. It's very difficult for us to connect to other people. And so what we do is we have this pane of glass here, and we're just caught up in these behaviors of being, and people aren't able to get close to us. And lots of times people can feel that, right? And so we want to be loved in an authentic way, but we struggle with it. And we attract people who are very oftentimes emotionally unavailable. We attract people who need to be fixed and who want to be catered to. And so we end up with the short end of the stick in childhood and in adulthood. But here's the thing, right? We're all born asleep, and the only person who can fix this is you. The only person who can fix this for me is me. So healing from codependency, there are plenty of things that we can do, but I think the major step that we have to take today for anybody who is suffering or thinks they might be suffering from codependency is recognizing the symptoms and the characteristics of codependency so that you can identify as being someone with codependency. And so now that if this resonates with you, now at least you know what was wrong is not you, it's just your programming. And now at least you're on the path to emotional recovery. You can learn more about codependency in my book, The Road Back to Me. And if you're interested in learning about how to break through some patterns, you can check out my book, Codependent Now What? It's Not You, It's Your Programming. I also have a 12-week breakthrough coaching program that helps people heal from codependency that I moderate along with a team, and we host that twice a year in August and in February, and you can register for the next class now if you like. Do not despair, dear one. I can tell you that when my therapist told me that I was clinically depressed, but he said, well, you're clinically depressed because you're codependent, you know, I was excited as I was confused. Like, what? I thought codependency just had to do with people who had alcoholism and the spouses who took care of the alcoholics. And boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. So this is an exciting time, and dive into learning more about codependency, and know that you can join CODA. You can join Al-Anon. These are free support groups. You can find a support group, I think, almost anywhere in the world. And that would be a great place to start. So thank you so much for being here, and I hope you're enjoying my channel, dear ones. And you can actually, if you click the subscribe button and the notification bell, you will be entered to win a 1-year-long membership to my Breakthrough Warrior membership site, all about healing from codependency and narcissistic abuse. So as always, I'm bowing to the love and the light that is absolutely in you. Bye for now.